Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today I've got a subscriber requested video. How exciting is that? This is my first one. So I was asked to do a video on solar notes in perfumery. So I didn't really know anything about solar notes before I started researching this video, I'll freely admit that. All I really knew was what they're meant to be doing. So what they're meant to be doing is mimicking the feeling of sunshine or the feeling of the warmth from the sunshine. So you can't bottle the sun. How are they managing to do that? The sun's a star. It's the reason for life on Earth. It's got antidepressant qualities to it. So you can see why a perfumer would really want to bottle that, because it's going to sell a perfume. So what's the idea of a solar note? What are solar notes? So to answer that question, we have to go back through perfumery history and we have to look at the first recognised example of a solar note. So let me tell you a story. So there was a chemist called Eugene Schueller, and he was actually the founder of L'Oreal, but he loved sailing. But the problem with that was he was just always sunburnt whenever he went sailing. He just spoiled his enjoyment of sailing. So he'd heard about these suntan oils that had been developed in the US, and he wanted to bring that to Europe. So he was based in France. He knew what ingredients the Americans were making, and he knew that there was only really one that was known to protect you from the sun at the time, and that is called benzyl salicylate. So salicylates are naturally occurring compounds that act as plant hormones, and I think if I tell you about salicylates, you will know what I'm talking about. An example of them is aspirin. So aspirin is a salicylate that is obtained by reacting compounds from willow bark. So salicylate, the name comes from the Latin for willow, which is salix. So he made a suntan oil to protect himself from the sun using benzyl salicylate. So fast forward a couple of years, it's got popular. France has introduced paid leave, so more people are going on holidays, and people are packing the suntan oil, and they're getting this association between the suntan oil and the smell of the suntan oil and being in the sunshine, being on holiday, being happy. So a few years later, what does any good company try to do? They try to make their product better. And Eugene notices that there are better, more protective sunscreens on the market. So what does he do? He takes the benzyl salicylate out of his product and puts in a better sunscreen. What happens? Sales crash. Sales crash, disastrous. He then has to add back in the benzyl salicylate whilst also keeping in the better sunscreen. So he's just adding the benzyl salicylate, not because it's a sunscreen, but because people like the smell. So that is the first example of a solar perfume. That is something that people associate with sunshine that is not obviously sunshine, but is actually just a smell, and it evokes that feeling of being on holiday and has happy olfactory memory, happy scent associations. So the sunscreen that Eugene had made was actually called Ombre Solaire, and that is still sold today. So all throughout Europe, Europeans are associating Ombre Solaire and the smell of Ombre Solaire with being on holiday and with sunshine. Whereas I think in America, maybe Hawaiian Tropic or Coppertone kind of sunscreens might have that association. So a more kind of tropical kind of smell would be associated. And perhaps they'd have a different idea of a solar note. So what happened when companies realised that people liked the smell of benzyl salicylate? They started putting it in everything. So it's in shampoos, it's in body creams, it's in detergents, fabric conditioners, hairsprays, loads and loads of things. So what do salicylates kind of evoke? They evoke that kind of sunlit atmosphere. They feel creamy, they feel kind of a little bit spicy, a little bit balsamic. They also feel a little bit floral and a little bit fresh. So the main flowers that have salicylates, I mean pretty much every kind of plant has salicylates because it is a plant hormone. But the ones that really have very high levels of salicylates are gardenia, tiare flower, ylang ylang, frangipani and immortelle. So all very tropical kind of smelling flowers. So you can see why people would associate that with holidays and being somewhere warm. So those flowers in perfumery represent a problem for perfumers because they're hard to extract volatile chemicals from to be able to get the notes in perfumery. So what happens is that those those chemicals are synthesized in the lab to try and mimic those flowers. So that again is where salicylates come in, because we know that that is one of the chemicals, the odour chemicals that they give off. Actually, the beauty of salicylates is that they're super cheap. So even the cheap brands are really getting in on this. So H&M brought out their very cheap range that included a perfume called Sunray, and Sunray had a solar note. So I think that solar notes have had a partially bad rep just because of the cheapness of the benzyl salicylate note, but I think it's becoming a lot more sophisticated now, the ways perfume companies are developing that kind of sunshine solar note feeling. And I think that, you know, it's no longer a dirty word to put a solar note in a perfume, because it's not just a simple benzyl salicylate, it's a lot more complicated. So that is probably the biggest category of solar notes, but there are also other notes that make me think of sunshine. So for me, one of the biggest categories of solar notes is citrus notes. So things like grapefruit, lemon, bergamot, mandarin. There's also kind of exotic fruits, so things like coconut, mango, pineapple, banana. They all make me think of being somewhere tropical, and they have that associations of summer with me because I think of cocktails. And there's also marine notes. So there's one particular synthetic chemical called calone, and that has kind of a sea spray kind of smell. It didn't really get popular until the 90s. So you think those kind of fresh, aquatic, ozonic kind of smells like the Calvin Klein line of perfumes. Calone and sea notes for sure are very kind of sunshine evoking for me. So then going back to the salicylates, then there's also the white flowers, because if salicylates come from white flowers, then surely white flowers are going to remind you of solar notes. So for me, jasmine and orange blossom, and also tiara flower and tuberose and gardenia are all very solar evoking flowers. So when did solar notes get popular in perfumery? Well, they were around in the 70s and 80s for sure, but they didn't really get popular until the late kind of 2000s. So the earliest perfumes with solar notes, which may not be actually called solar notes, but are definitely there as that benzyl salicylate note, are things like L'air du Temps by Nina Ricci, so really quite old perfumes, and also Je Reviens by Worth. So more recently, Mugler has really become the champion of solar notes. So if you look at the notes of, for example, Sunessence Edition Sapphire Soleil from 2010, that has a tiara note, amber and grapefruit. So you can't really get more sunshine evoking than those three notes. Amber is a very warm note anyway. But yeah, even the bottle looks like sunshine. And then there are other perfumes from his range where he's more expressly named them as solar notes. So there's Alien Eau Sublime and there's Alien Sunessence. When solar notes got really popular around 2017, 2018, loads and loads of different perfumes came out with that. So especially flanker perfumes of main perfumes. So for example, Daisy Sunshine range is obviously based on a solar kind of note. There's also Yves Saint Laurent getting in on the action with Black Orchid Floral Shock, and DKNY with Nectar Love, and Dolce & Gabbana with their Dolce range with the Shine flanker. There's also actual suntan cream kind of companies getting in on this. So there's Nivea Sun, and there's also a Jill Sander fragrance, Jill Sander Sun, which also have very clear solar notes, which are clearly mimicking that sun cream, suntan lotion kind of smell. There's also the Gucci Bloom flanker, Profumo di Fiore. So which perfumes do I have that make me think of sunshine? Which are the top sunshine perfumes in my collection? So I just thought it'd be fun because I don't really have that many solar note perfumes. So I thought I'd just try and find some that fit this category. So the only perfume I have actually with a solar note in it is actually this one. So this is Jill Sander Simply Poudre. But I wouldn't put this as a summery perfume. I would put this more of a snuggly perfume, as I've previously said, but that is one that I do have with a solar note. The other perfumes that really remind me of sunshine in my collection are these two. So the first one is Daisy Days by Marc Jacobs. So this has a top note of mandarin, and then it also has a middle note of Miraval Plum and then musk in the base. But yeah, this is just so bright and shining. It really feels very summery. I really like wearing this in the spring and the summer. It's really fresh. Yeah, just really citrusy. I think that especially the opening is just so citrus. It's so bright. Really nice. And then the third one needs no introduction. And really, I think a lot of people think of this as a wintry perfume, but to me, I always describe it as luminous, and that is Alien by Mugler. So the jasmine in this just shines like a light. It's just like, it's like sunshine reflecting everywhere when you wear this perfume. So that's definitely a solar note for me, the jasmine, the otherworldly jasmine in Alien. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something about solar notes. I hope you enjoyed the story of Eugene. I thought that was super cute that he just wanted to go sailing. And if you've enjoyed this video, I hope you give me a thumbs up, and I really hope that you consider subscribing if you're not already. If you are subscribed already, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you coming back and watching my videos. It's so nice of you, and it really makes it worth making videos when I see comments from people. So thank you all so much for that. And I'll see you in the next one. If you've got any ideas of videos that you'd like me to do, then please drop them below. I'd be really interested to read them. So bye!